Save the evening. So we'll go ahead and get started and call the meeting to order. Do we have no, we have no virtual attendees. And I don't think we have any, guests. So, everybody please remember to sign in if you didn't do it already, and we've called the meeting to order. First, a motion and a second is needed to adopt the consent agenda and the minutes from the last meeting. Right here. Okay with that.
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion is passed. As part of our 2 hours of continuing education that we receive during each meeting, I believe Shadrick is up this evening to discuss environmental health remittances.
It's very exciting.
I'm excited.
First of all, I'd like to point out that I spelled remittances correctly, according to Google.
Excellent.
Olivia is going to run the slides for me. There's only 4 or 5 slides. So remittances are, I think of them as the only tax that the public health department pays. And what they are in common language is a portion of our collected fees from licenses and permits and other activities that are passed on to state agencies. So let's look at the next slide if we do. Those remittances are particularly important to those state agencies because that's basically the only kind of funding that most of them get. It's the pass-through funds that come from the local health department. So for environmental health, we commonly interact with 4 of Ohio state agencies, namely the Department of Health, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Natural Resources, and the Ohio EPA. Next slide, please. Usually remittances are paid on a quarterly basis with a 45-day window to get those processed and sent off along with their funds. The reason this is important to the board, I think, is because a lot of times when we look over our financials that NOAA goes over, we'll see really big line items a few times. And it's like, well, why are we paying the EPA, $23,000 this month? Or why did we receive these monies from such and such? And essentially what that is money that goes in and money that goes out almost immediately. So I call them pass-through funds. I'm not sure that that's really the technical term. We usually reserve that for grants, but that's kind of how it works. We especially see that when it comes to program code 3003 or our solid waste program, which happens to be the top line of our big sheet, which Noah will hit later on. Next. So as an example, I took the total remittances from last year. We paid almost $10,000 to the Ohio Department of Health. Only just a little over $300 to the Department of Ag. $250,000 to the Department of Natural Resources, and nearly $15,000 to the Ohio EPA. All that totaled up to $275,498 of income from fees actually passed through us to their corresponding agencies. So when you see those line items, you know that that's really money in, money out, generally speaking. Next slide. I apologize for this. Did this make it in their board packet? I'm sorry. Okay, good. You have your own copy of this, which is much more readable, but it's a way to see exactly what EH sends to each of those agencies and then what we keep for ourselves. I'll point out probably the best one is the solid waste, the top line. Lots of money in solid waste, right? There's a lot of risk associated with it, a lot of work to make sure that the regulatory aspect is done correctly and that the program is administered. The Ohio EPA collects about 3 cents per cubic yard or 6 cents per ton for everything that goes into the Xenia demolition landfill. That seems like nothing. I apologize. I left off the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. I just noticed that. In fact, they get something like, was it 50 cents per ton, I believe. The local health district collects 30 cents per yard for everything that goes in. So the long and the short of it is the solid waste program, although it's technically optional, generates a lot of money for both the health district and EH in particular. So we take pride in making sure that we're on top of that. For our hard work in solid waste, we're required to do quarterly inspections on most things, or yearly on some of those lower risk items. Those remittances are done monthly. So Scott Filson, who used to be a board member here, actually submits essentially a payment to the health district where he's calculated how many cubic yards of debris went through his facility that month. We receive that. We send off the state agency part, and the outgoing, we process that as one of those remittances. That happens monthly. Most of the other things that have state rules, like private water, sewage, swimming pools, all our food, RVs and campgrounds, those things are transmitted quarterly, and each permit that we sell has either a particular serially numbered security paper that goes with it, right? So you can't just keep printing those out. That we have to account for, just as if they were checks almost, or a sticker that we put on each permit, so which we also have to account for. And the accounting for that is what ends up being the remittance that's submitted every quarter. Okay, so you're welcome to look at that in detail. You can kind of see how each one gets their money and what we take. It is far too complicated for me to put all our fees in that last row. That's what we vote on every year, our individual fees. If you want a copy of that, see us and we can get that to you. It's on the website, but we can email it to you directly. I think that's it. Is that it? Yep, that's it. Any questions on how remittances work or how important they are to us?
You said something about something's marked on there. Who verifies that that's being done?
So we order those from the state. Let's use a food permit as an example. They come on a special paper. We order them directly and they're serially numbered. So they send us serial number this to this, and it's marked on the invoice. And we have to account for every one of those. So if there's a typo or something, we have to void it and hold it in case they ever want to check that. When we get to the end of the quarter, we print out a report from our database that shows every one of those serially numbered permits being assigned to someone and how much that permit costs, and then how much actually goes to Ohio Department of Agriculture and Ohio Department of Health. A similar thing happens with our stickers. We use stickers for private water and for sewage. We put those on every permit. Those are serially numbered, and they send us a roll from this to this, and we have to account for that, essentially.
Do you get audited ever?
It's a form of an audit. It's not nearly what our and ladies in finance go through, but yes, they look at that as well as the program as a whole, inspections, violations, report writing, all that kind of stuff. So it's part of the general survey is what we call it. Program survey.
So essentially part of the fees we charge are sent to the state agencies.
An excellent question, Tim. That is correct. It's important to understand that when the board votes on a fee, you're voting on our portion of the fee.
Okay.
So what you're seeing is not counting what goes up to the state too. That's totaled in.
Okay.
Now that's made as clear as possible to our clientele. It's actually on our fee sheet. It shows our part, the state part, and then the total, and any penalty when we have the option to assess a penalty fee for late registrations and licenses.
So where are the fees from the natural resource coming from?
I'm sorry, that's from solid waste.
Oh.
From 3,000, program 3,000, the very first one. When I did the research, I forgot to go back into this chart and fix it. I apologize for that, but the vast majority of their funding comes from what we send them from solid waste.
So you're saying that, I missed that little part. You're saying that the fees that we approve every year, or when we approve them, are just our part, or that they include the state.
It is just our part.
Would it?
It brings us to another point, Scott, which I didn't mention, which is that generally speaking, remittances are pretty static, with the exception of solid waste. They're static too, by virtue of how much waste comes through. But it's just a dollar figure, $20 for the Department of Natural Resources for well permits for every permit. So it's a very easy fee to assess. But what you vote on does not include that. That gets totaled up at the end when the permit is sold.
I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah, so. Okay. So when you send it out to everybody that's gonna have a permit increase or something, do they see the part that the state is gonna have too, or they just seeing how much we're raising the fees for ourselves?
That's a good question. I think I send them both. Yes, I think they see,
So they know the total amount that they're gonna.
yes. Yeah, and if they don't, I'll make sure they do this year. But no, I think I send them out the proposed fee sheet just as it is at the end.
And at some point, the state periodically lets you and everybody else in the state know if they've raised their part.
And for better or worse, they don't do that very often at all. As a matter of fact, it's kind of caused them problems. That leads to another interesting discussion. Some remittances are set by law, by literal act of Congress, right, or the state legislature. Those are obviously very difficult to change because you have to get them approved. Those remittances that are set by regulation are a little easier to do because they're approved by committee, right? And they are now, most of the EH rules are being subject to review, so I expect those remittances will be changed somewhat. Solid waste remittances have been changed in some areas and for other things that don't really affect Greene County. I didn't go into that. There was a big issue where a lot of waste was coming into Ohio, and Ohio was like, hey, we're not taking your junk without you really paying for it. So they upped that fee tremendously. There was also a situation where 4 counties in northern Ohio, their solid waste district went through a strange thing, and their prices were all over the place. Didn't affect us, but they were changed. Their remittances were changed to address that specific need in law. But otherwise, they've been quite static. Our sewage had been the same since 2014. And while the water rules are relatively new, 2021, I don't think they changed the remittance back then. So
I just wanted to follow what you said. The state fee is the same for every county. What you just said when there was 4, was there changed differently or?
yes, and they were the exceptions to the rule. Yes, all the other state fees, all the other remittances are across the board the same. Yep. Good question.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
There's always more detail to things than we know.
If you'd ever like to go on one of the landfill inspections, I highly recommend going. You would be surprised what goes into that. Landfills used to be you just put stuff in the ground. Now there's very specific rules about most having a liner underneath them so that stuff doesn't seep out. It's got to be covered. You got to make sure it's not going to slide off of the landfill as it gets taller, or it's not a fire risk and different things. So it's really good for that committee. He'll be scheduling tours.
Yeah, I look forward to the email, letting us know about the opportunities for that.
So where's our landfill at here?
So the one is Hawkins Road. Yes, is where the Xenia landfill is.
Dayton Senior.
Dayton Senior one?
Okay.
Behind the dog park is a good way to think of it.
Dog park, yeah. That's-
They're by between Pierce Park and Dayton Avenue Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it's oh good Lord, Diane Thompson.
Can anybody go there?
It
I
was
was
the
the one far away
highway
before.
patrol post.
Because I think I had something that I couldn't take.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
So that was close.
it's a construction and demolition debris. So Mr. Filson can only take some very specific things. If you just have junk, you're gonna have to take some, basically in Montgomery County.
that's the only one that If we use.
And
How
then
much?
I had to pay them,
Yes, that's
you have to
all
pay
they
him
say.
too, even for
So they
specific.
might have-
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Cedric, how much more life is in that demolition landfill? Any idea?
Yeah, something like 80 years. I was floored. It could be huge.
Something else.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I asked him that during the inspection. I'm like, so Scott, how much time you got left here? We calculate, I think he told me between 60 and 80 years left to fill. I mean, there's generations of fill left there. So,
Is there something they put in it to absorb it so it goes down?
Compact it.
Yeah, well, not compacted, but some kind of chemicals they put in it so it goes down.
no.
Okay, it just continues to build up.
Yeah, they use what's called a sheet foot roller, right, which is a big thing that smushes it down, and then they put a dirt cover on it and smush it again, and then that's it. There is to it. Now, when the thing was originally built, there would have been a big thick liner put on the bottom of it and a leachate collection system. The new ones have. So
So with a leach fill out there, nobody could ever build a house out there then.
no.
Okay.
That
They-
didn't
if
stop
they ever sold
doing
it.
it,
But
though.
you know that,
Some of them come into parks and playgrounds. I mean, they're cool.
Mr. Harden, that's a really good
Yeah,
question
golf course.
because we have in the county 3 closed landfills.
Yes.
We have Xenia closed landfill, which is adjacent to the CD&D and which is,
City dump.
Or is those city
Out
dumps there?
there, back off.
Yep.
Yeah.
what's the road?
Tower.
Yeah, that's right, Tower.
Garages.
Yeah,
So that was closed?
that's a closed one. It's still under supervision of EPA because it's still emitting gas and I don't know if we have time with this, but here we are. So
Oh, we're all fascinated by this.
Very interesting.
Yes.
So at 74 after the tornado, the tornado debris went in that hole. Everyone was in a panic, understandably. It went in that hole. It wasn't done even the way it should have been done in 74. And it's causing us problems to this day. So it will likely always be under some sort of management by the city. The other two are Cedarville. There's one in Cedarville, which it's really hard to find. It's also kind of a park back there. You can hunt back there, and if there's a
That back,
shooting range back
oh yeah,
there.
back with the village farm.
That's it.
It's not publicly accessible.
Oh, okay. Where the solar panels are and the water treat. Okay. That thing is complicated. There used to be an incineration plant in Cedarville, so the trash just got burned.
Yeah.
So that landfill is all ash, which is really complicated. So they'll be monitoring that for a long, long time. The only one that looks promising is the one in Fairborn, which is something like 70 acres. That was still is under gas monitoring. It has a flare system. It produces very little gas. The flare doesn't run very, very long. It's now technically a park, but it's nothing more than a field. There's nothing there. It's in pretty decent shape. We might eventually get rid of that one. But we have to inspect them under contract, as it were, as part of our getting, the whole remittance thing for EPA. So we look at it once a year. Toward the whole
Where's
thing.
the Fairborn one? Is that off Beaver Valley or right off
Yes,
675?
right before you get to 5 Points. And then what's the road that runs? There's a subdivision that runs right up to it, and it's called Fair Oak Park. Is the name of it, but I can't remember the name of the little street on the backside.
Well, it's right there along 675 and you're going south on the right. That big hill,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Off of Beaver Valley Road.
Yeah, right before you go
Yep.
down the hill under the overpass.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Some of them,
Wasn't
if you
there one
look,
right
you
off
can
of
see the
675?
piping for the gas. You can see the
And
little.
235?
Yeah, what's that?
The one off of 675 and 235. There was one right there.
Right corner.
So that's the
Southwestern.
okay, that's Dean's Eco Green. That is really a landfill. They do composting there, compost processing. Is that what we're thinking of, maybe?
I thought it was a Fairborn landfill way back when.
No, we don't have that one under license. I can tell you that, so I'm not sure. Maybe it did finally close. Maybe it's so old it finally
Maybe.
fell.
a dumb question. I was looking in
No,
the
no.
park and there are a lot of children's, playground and all that. The gases that may come out of it is health wise, no problem.
They tend to be methane, right? The stuff you'd expect. The gases are not a problem. The leachate is a problem. The leachate that comes out of the closed Xenia landfill and the C&D facility, depending on who, that's its own interesting story, is very high in arsenic and some heavy metals because it's, what's that?
TCE, remember?
Yeah, from years and years of stuff we don't even manufacture anymore because it causes problems. So that one we watch, but the gases don't tend to be an issue.
They tend to dissipate when they hit air.
I just wondered because of children's parks and all the trails they have, people must be using it quite a bit. Whether it's safe.
So far, no safety hazard with that one in Fairborn, nor in the park that is currently being used in the closed landfill at Xenia. It's pretty stable there. The demolition landfill, the border between the demolition landfill and the closed landfill, which isn't really public, is a problem. There's problems there that we're working with EPA on. So
What time of year do you do these inspections?
we do the closed landfills. We used to do them in the summer because it's easy to get, we'd have them mow and we'd go walk them and it's easier to do that way. However, we found that a couple landfills were having problems with leachate outbreaks. So we now do them when the leaves are down, right? When the grass and the leaves are down so we can see. We've used our drone to do some imaging. The leachate is bright orange, so it stands out really well, even at a couple hundred feet up. So we're able to identify problems if something's leaked out of the cap. The others have to be done quarterly, so we see them, all year long.
Great.
Well, and some of them are like proud community accomplishments. There was one in Virginia when I was in college and they just called it Mount Trashmore. It was like, look what amazing thing we made out of what this used to be a long time ago. Thanks. Everybody good? Okay. All right. So Nova's up with all the financial information.
I can't follow that. I'm gonna give you some very black and white.
Since we spent so much time on that, you can.
You know, if Tim says I can, then I will. But yes, I will not even try. Side note, last month we introduced the iPads. We did look into the timer. I know that is still an issue and we apologize for that. It's an issue because we are under government account. And if you take the timer off or extend it, it's seen as security issue that it'd be longer access to an open computer. So we have contacted Apple and they recognize that it's on their end and how they have government accounts configured. And they are working on some kind of workaround so that we can extend the time that the screen is on. So for now, again, I apologize for the inconvenience. But that's where we're at with that. We're waiting on Apple to get back to us with a fix. Also, kudos to Olivia. I believe Mr. Harding, you have a pad.
Huh?
You should have a notepad somewhere.
I do right here.
See?
I saw that.
Olivia was on it.
I saw that. Who do I need to thank for that?
Olivia.
Thank you.
So we do have that, and she has some extra ones over there too. If anybody wants the
It
notepad,
becomes all the rage now.
there, yeah. Bring your notepad. So with that said, we'll move on to the financial stuff. So we are 33% through the year. And as Shatter kind of talked about, the numbers you are seeing do include those remittances, both in the top part of your spreadsheet in the revenue section, and they are also included in the bottom part of the expenses. When we do program analysis, we remove them so that we're actually looking at the cost of the program and the revenue for the program, and we exclude remittances. But for the purposes of the financial reporting, we do include them in both sides of the accounting equation. So up in the top part, being 33% through the year, we want to be at or around that. And we understand at this point that revenue is very seasonal in what we do here. So being right at that 33% is kind of hard due to the nature of our programs, how they peak and valley with where they are. Our general fund, which is where the property tax dollars come in, is still our largest fund for revenue. So we always want to look there and see where that's at. Last month, we got the first dump in property taxes. So you're going to see that nice, healthy 78% of what's anticipated already collected. That's because we've gotten the first dump. And then our next largest fund is 037, which is that third one from the top. And it's at 58%. Again, 33% is roughly where you'd want to be or more. Remember, we did transfer some money over there into that fund as well, which is kind of artificially inflating that up some. But overall for the year, we're at 69% collected in terms of what we've anticipated. Remember, we have gotten our first dump of property taxes. We've also basically gotten the majority of our food service money already because you get that within the first few months of the year. And then we've done some of those transfers. But overall, revenue is tracking. Down at the bottom, we have expenses, and we'd want to be at 33% or less. And for the most part, we can use that with a little bit more confidence than we can for revenue, since personnel drives costs. So if we look at our general fund, it's right around 50%. Remember, we've had some upfront costs already this year, which has included doing transfer. So that's kind of artificially inflating your expenses in there. And then our next, our largest fund now is 037 in terms of cost. And it's at 41%. And again, we've had to pay some of our yearly expenditures that are larger already. That should level out as we get through the rest of the year. Overall, we're at 40%, largely driven by both the transfers we've already done. But we should be on track right there. If we go all the way down to that bottom right corner, you're going to see kind of where it really matters. And that is, relative to expenses, are we bringing in enough to cover our costs? As an agency, that answer is yes. We're at 78% for our operating ratio, which means we are definitely covering our costs right now. And then all of those other funds you would want to see at or below 100%. And you can see the majority of them are hovering right around that 100%. Which is actually pretty efficient, especially given the fact that we are levy funded, so we do have to subsidize programs that don't cover. So that 78% operating ratio for the entire organization is pretty healthy. Any questions about the income expenditure report?
I do have one question.
Sure.
Sorry. For the remodeling of the new space, where is that going to come out of?
The building fund. So that is 7511 on your sheet. It is third from the bottom. So the only money that goes into there was the rental income we had from Five Rivers. We don't collect that anymore. And then we did some transfers last year, some money over there in anticipation of doing renovations. So yes, so that is the fund that we will be paying for.
Thanks.
Yep. So the next report is your voucher summary. You have your cover sheet on top. If you are looking for those remittances, if you go 2, 3, 4, you go 5 down, you will see an expense line that says fees to registrars. That is our expense line for remittances. So you can go across there and see what we expect to spend this year in those remittances, what we spent this month being 61,000, and what we spent year to date being just under 150,000. And then for this point in the year, 33% being where you would target, we're at 27%. So we're right on track with what we expect to spend there. Overall, spent 187,000 for the month. And so far this year, non-labor costs just over 2.5. And then we're at 57%. That is largely driven, and when I say largely, about 30% driven by the fact we've done that transfer already, which you see 100% already expended. If you took that away, we're about 27% of our non-labor budget expended, which is right on target with 33%. You can certainly look through the rest of it for the detail on your yellow sheets, and I can give you some time to do that if you have any questions about an individual transaction. Other than that, that's the voucher summary.
The $2,000 for Apple iPad, is that a recurring expense every month? Is that to keep these covered and
That is not these. That, what page are you?
it's on the very first, it's like Apple Incorporated, $2,028, about halfway down the page.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Is that a recurring or?
oh, that is for 037. That is for a program that we probably did an iPad for. I think that might actually be for WIC. Is that for WIC?
Even Nancy ordered some iPads.
Gotcha. For her team.
Yeah.
It's for one of Jennifer's programs.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wondered if that was it.
Any other questions about the voucher summary? Moving on. On your salmon color sheet, you just have the movement of money for the month. Not too much on there to speak of. But certainly answer any questions about any of them if you have any. Any questions about the movement? That's all I have. I'm sorry, that was not as riveting
Okay.
as Shadra.
And now we understand how they, how they go together, how people were written are all in the. So, we need a motion and a second to accept the income and expenditure report and the expenses and the transfers.
So much.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? You passes. I'll just ask, I don't think the governance committee met.
We did not.
Performance evaluation
Oh.
and planning and finance. Okay. So the new business, who is Stradrick, is this you who's gonna? find this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the new business, we've got the variance request to start with.
So all sewage contractors are required to get continuing education credit. When they wrote the regulation governing this, unfortunately, they inserted the word calendar year for those CEUs, meaning that all the contractors had to make sure that they got their CEUs before December 31st, the year prior, which is a very strange way of doing that because renewals happen anytime. What we're asking for here is Mr. Dill was not able to get his CEUs in 2025, but instead did them in February of 2026. In order to approve the CEUs and register him as a sewage contractor, we would have to have the board grant that variance of 2 months, saying that those are okay. And the environmental health team supports that. I fully expect, just between us, I fully expect that that part of the rule is likely to be changed. That rule is being revised now, and I think hopefully they'll change that because it's just administratively burdensome. But
For 2026, will he take extra one this year?
he has to, and that's excellent, Dr. Powell. Thank you. In fact, if you look carefully on that, there is in large print a note that tells Mr. Dill, you must continue to get 6 more, another 6 different ones this year to be able to register for 2027. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so this also needs a vote, so I need a motion and a second, please.
Second.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That
Thank you. Also,
passes. And then next, is authorization to receive funds for the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund grant. Do I need to read this aloud? the resolution, or do you?
Does everyone
wanna
have the
explain it?
language?
Yeah,
And you
everybody
can
has
just-
it. Okay.
Read it, read it into as written. How's that? Like you wanna read it into the record as it's written. How's that?
So just read the whole thing?
No.
Or just say, we will read it into the record as written, and then do
Yes.
an explanation.
Yeah, he can tell you.
Okay, thank you.
So in 2023, we began participating in the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund. That is a forgivable loan program that allows lower income families to get help with sewage repairs and replacements. Each year, a new contract has to be made with Ohio EPA, and an authorized agent has to be appointed. I think that's the term, something similar to that. So we have NOAA do that for us, and we need the board's approval in order for us to accept the funds for that program and process everything.
Any questions about that?
Does it cost anymore?
I'm
Does
sorry.
it cost anymore? Any cost involved?
No, not to us. No, sir. No. This year will be $50,000 made available to families in need. So.
And we.
Oh, I was talking about-
that.
It comes in and goes right back out.
Okay.
I'm talking about having a contract to do that, and do we need to pay for the contract?
He is compensated directly with those funds, in fact. So nothing comes out of the public health budget to pay for those things.
Thank you.
Good question. So we need a vote on this as well. So again,
I'll make the motion to include the resolution as written into the record.
Yes, and
Resolution.
I'll second it, brother.
well done. Thank you. Everyone in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And then
Thank you.
we have our additional business, which we also got, first thing we got the really good email about Nalbo's governance symposium that we can access. And I believe it's like the other ones where if you don't get the live time, you can also access the recording.
Right.
Did you wanna?
Well, there's about 4 different sessions that you can attend starting around May the 12th through June. And a lot of them have to do with governance. I think AI is in one of them. And so if you get the opportunity to attend, you can just log on from anywhere and watch it from there and see what other boards of health are seeing across the nation. So be very helpful to.
Yeah, let's really encourage the 2 new board members to participate if they can.
Maybe when it's, that's the first one starts next week. So even though we got the email, we can maybe send another one and remind people that if they miss it live, they can see the recording. I think the one about trust in a time of skepticism for boards of health, so like it might be interesting.
The one, I'm sure they're all gonna be good.
Mhm.
They usually are, but the one on June 10th, which is keeping meetings moving, Robert's rules without yawning. Strategies for difficult board.
Oh,
members.
wow.
Mike Hugo is an excellent speaker. He's from Boston and he is, he's just a riot and he's very good and, that's definitely one you want to see.
So maybe it should be required watch.
Hey, any other? business?
No, I was just gonna
There-
say the dairy disease of the year has arrived, which is done. You know, and the risk is very low, but this is a particular strain that can be spread person to person. So there is more questions about it, more concern about it. Mortality in the Americas is more like 40 or 50%, which is incredibly high for an infectious disease. Smallpox is about 30%, so this is very high. But in other parts of the world, it's more like 1 to 15%. And it's where you see this disease more often. So we're keeping an eye on it, but we're not particularly alarmed. You shouldn't be either.
So they said the strain that's out there is the one that can spread human to human, which is, scary in it of itself. But that,
Especially on a cruise ship where you're very
the local epidemiologist I always forget her name, Catalina.
Caitlin, Catalina.
Catalina.
Yeah.
She did a
Yes.
something on Instagram today all about it. That was very interesting.
She's wonderful.
She's great.
Yeah, the big.
What was that about the
letting all the
cruise
people getting off the boat.
What was that?
I missed that part.
The mid,
Well,
in
they're on a
the
cruise
28th?
They're on
It was on a cruise ship.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's where the outbreak has happened.
I have to watch that.
Yes. You.
How long have you been home?
How long?
He wasn't on that ship.
Where'd you go?
Didn't really have done that, but.
But they think it actually originated from someone off the ship who then boarded the ship. Because there was very close contact between like spouse.
Wife died too. Yeah. Okay.
Always fascinating.
Okay,
Dutch.
That's all.
all good for the order?
Dutch.
Anybody else have anything to share before we're concluded? Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I caught the thing, we'll move those on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Strive to survive.
Shoot. Really only trying to-
I think so.
Several times. That work?
And then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Daryl, it was so nice of you to come back here and have us all organized and we're working since 4:30 in that office. Yes, thanks, Melissa, for, it was so nice.
Oh, you're welcome.
Problem.
That I think, yeah, the power button is just like.
Very nice. I had to make it up. And then like I was gonna go to this meeting. We're done.
Yeah.
I will adjust.
And you stood. Oh, it's just. Okay, see how good and not gonna feel the pain. I'm a terrible person about pens, I am, so I forget. So I'm glad she
Thank
provided
you.
one. Thank you, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Expecting.
Yeah, let's know.
It mainly just serves the house that there. I've got an older guy living that used to.
I know you are.
And I haven't. But it comes time. What can I be doing? We're gonna have to cut,
We're not a good way.
we're gonna have to, cut the cable.
Yeah, you don't want that either.
Get up,
But it,
because, this is adapter and the electric goes up and over and then down. Cut that casing and then
The different, the.
put a sleeve on it and glue it back together. Or you have to draw it.
Yes, you could do that.
Thanks,
Also
everybody.
install a flood through, which is basically a kind of an air valve with a ball in it that will shut off when the water's coming.
Well, I'm glad.
It doesn't, that means it would be just a normal item.
Was that wasn't available then?
I don't know,
That wasn't even,
my program manager, Jerry, is familiar with those.
okay.
Sometimes they're, I don't know if they're prohibitively expensive. I got that impression because when that came up, when Mark was in the position of program manager, he never would do that. He always did the tall cases and tell
Okay.
people
Yeah.
3 feet over the flood rim is
Yep.
where you gotta be. And so we have a number of wells casings that are 14, 20 feet tall,
Okay.
knowing we're in for it when the